The highly provocative narcissist. Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. A chant that was heard many years ago by certain individuals at football matches, or soccer to our transatlantic cousins. There are certain narcissists that fall within the bracket of being highly provocative. You will have probably seen an individual stood, perhaps at a sporting event, on his own, stood up, bare-chested, goading the opposition crowd. Wanker signs, flipping the bird, the middle finger, the V's, coins, spittle, rain down on this individual, who is giving zero fucks. Indeed, they actually appear to be enjoying it. Or, what about the politician that is making an address, that is being barracked and heckled? They just keep going. They seem to be thriving on the negativity. They are making their provocative statements and again, looking down from that podium, giving zero fucks about the aggression, vitriol and the hatred that is being thrown in their direction. You'll all be able to think of certain sports individuals who absolutely thrive on the antipathy that comes from the home crowd, that they delight in being seen as the bad boy or bad girl of the particular sport, that their cheating, that their lack of sportsmanship riles people, their shithousery that they engage in gets really on people's backs, up their noses and sticks in their craws, yet it doesn't seem to bother them. I imagine that some of you have watched it and thought, gosh, I couldn't tolerate that at all if that was me. How do they stand up to receiving that barracking, that negativity? They almost appear to be enjoying it. The barrage of photographers and journalists camped out around somebody's house, heckling and asking questions, and the individual just cruises through them. You will have probably thought, I couldn't deal with that pressure. I wouldn't like to experience that. How do they manage to cope with it? They must have a really thick skin. The answer is that invariably these individuals are narcissists and are highly provocative narcissists. These individuals thrive, like any narcissist, on the provision of fuel, both positive and negative. But the highly provocative narcissist is one that especially enjoys negative fuel. All narcissists find that particularly potent, but many narcissists will receive negative fuel in a one-on-one scenario, usually by the devaluation of the intimate partner primary source or an intimate partner secondary source, maybe a friend or family member, generally in private. That is, of course, for mid-range and greater, the ultra, because of the preservation of the facade. Lesser narcissists may cause a scene in a bar in front of everybody, and they don't seem to care, and that's because they don't operate a facade. But certain narcissists positively revel in goading a crowd, being seen as the bad boy. They stand there, arms folded, surveying the crowd, a smile plastered across their face, lapping up the hatred, the catcalling, the heckling. You would feel nervous, anxious, you'd want to get away from it. You wouldn't stand there and continue to expose yourself to it. But these individuals are able to do so because there is a tsunami of negative fuel coming towards them. Take, for instance, the footballer who is being told that he's a wanker by 40,000 people in the home crowd. He's just scored a goal against the home crowd's team. He puts his hand to his ear and stands in front of the home support, goading them, provoking them by saying, I can't hear you. The crowd responds. The catcalling starts, the heckling, the shouting, the booing, the offensive insults pour down on this individual. Yet he stands there. Every time he touches the ball thereafter, he's booed, but does it put it off his game? Not at all. He thrives on it. It empowers him. It encourages him. Indeed, he scores a second goal because he's riding high on the crest of the fuel that he's receiving. And of course, the individuals in the crowd don't realise that this is the case. They don't realise that what they're doing is actually powering this individual all the more. Yes, there are certain people who think he seems to thrive on the negativity. He gets off on it. He's a wind-up merchant. These are narcissists. There is one such footballer in the United Kingdom called Robbie Savage, and he's an easy target. He would come with over-whitened teeth, a stupid broad grin, and a blonde ponytail, and he's Captain Controversial, but he's a wind-up merchant because he gets off on the reaction. He would show off his money. He would show off his wife, a clear narcissist, and he stopped playing football and moved into punditry, where he continues to maintain the controversy for the sake of it. He doesn't know what he is, but he's doing all of this because he thrives off the negative fuel, and when he was a footballer, like many other sports people, when they're in front of that crowd, there is this wave of negative fuel. Yes, all of the individuals in the crowd are tertiary sources, so their individual potency is low. However, it's in person, it's proximate. It's the noise, the words themselves, the tone associated with them, the growling, the hatred, the annoyance. It is the hatred in the eyes that can be seen, the twisted, gurning faces, the gesticulations and the body language. 40,000 people all doing that. What a massive amount of fuel that narcissist receives in that moment. So you would think to yourself, okay, HG, I get that. It's a massive amount of fuel. They're loving that and they're feeling totally fueled by it, utterly pumped up by it, soaring up in the stratosphere. But is it not challenge fuel? It is. Because, of course, they're suggesting that the footballer is a wanker, that the individual is a cheat and an arsehole, whatever it might be, that the politician doesn't know what he's talking about, that he's cruel and uncaring, that his policies are threatening the security of the nation in some way. Yet, how then does this individual assert control over this crowd? It's hostile to him. Of course, there will be some narcissists who are put in that position who would adopt the third assertion of control and would slink away. Indeed, certain mid-range narcissists would behave in that way. The hostility, although fuel, still threatens their control, and they are not highly provocative narcissists, so they won't stand there and drink it up. They have to make good their escape, and their escape is the assertion of control by withdrawing. Thus they have received fuel, and they have withdrawn and asserted control. Problem solved. But what about those narcissists who stand there continuing to goad, continuing to provoke, continuing to shout down people, standing there on the set of Jerry Springer, getting to their feet and making a come on then gesture at an irate and heckling audience? Why are they doing that? And how are they asserting control? Because it's challenge fuel, there's no issue with the fuel, and indeed a huge amount is being provided, as I've already explained. But what they do, in terms of the assertion of control, is they basically say, in their heads, I'm better than these people. So, for instance, a particular football manager who is being barracked by the crowd drinks up all of that negative fuel when he's a narcissist, but at the same time he stood there, arms folded, smiling at them, because in his head he's thinking, I'm a millionaire, you're all pouring your attention towards me, I matter, and you have paid to be here. I get paid to be here. The arrogance, the superiority. That is how the narcissist asserts control. In the moment, by knowing that he is superior to them from his perception. It is not the case that he walks away. He's not going to do that. This is not a cowardly narcissist, but this is one that will stand there in the face of that hostility in a way that you find extraordinary. But what they are able to do is drink of the fuel, and they essentially dismiss you in their heads by saying, I'm better than all of these individuals. The politician will stand there and believe, I am the leader of this country. I am the chosen one. I am better than all of you. Take Jose Mourinho, the football manager. clear narcissist refers to himself as the special one. In his head, he's better than everybody else. So when he's being criticised, and by journalists, by a crowd, he loves it because he's getting fueled, and he just tells himself, what do they know? They're idiots. He's dismissive. So the highly provocative narcissist will engage in behaviour towards a group of people, and it could be tens of thousands of people, in a manner whereby what they say and what they do, or their very presence alone, inflames and provokes that crowd, and they don't assert control by withdrawing themselves from it. Instead, they remain, and they assert control by telling themselves, I am better than these people. The unaware narcissists that do that don't realise that that's how they're asserting control. They just believe that they are superior to these individuals. Let them call me names. I'm the one that's in charge here. Let them call names. It shows that my policies are working, that are getting under the nose of these clowns, these idiots. Let them shout me down. They're inarticulate and stupid. It's the only way that they feel that they can win the argument. I'm better than that. I don't need to respond to these lowlifes. Those and similar thoughts are what goes through the mind of the narcissist and allows them, from their perspective, to assert control. Have they actually? No, because the crowd continues to shout at them. But that makes no difference, because it is from the narcissist's perspective. It is how the narcissist regards it. So those individuals that you see that provoke a crowd in the face of overwhelming hostility, that invariably might do something foolish, and of course they run the risk of somebody running out of the crowd and planting a punch on their kisser. That can happen. But for the most part, these individuals who are narcissists and are the highly provocative narcissist revel in winding up that crowd, getting them going, causing them to expose their hatred. They are the pantomime villain. So, for instance, Simon Cowell, where the audience boos his decisions, he loves every moment of that, because it's negative fuel, which is more potent than positive. It's an outpouring of proximate fuel by that audience, and he sits there thinking, they don't know anything. I'm the music mogul. They are Philistines. I am the multimillionaire, and my pants are up by my nipples, which just shows that I'm particularly superior. That's how the narcissist deals with it. Of the narcissists by my categorizations, which ones are the highly provocative narcissists? As you'd expect, upper lesser type B, the bullies. They love such situations. Upper lesser type A, less so. They prefer to be seen as Mr. Popular, and therefore they are likely to not put themselves in such a position to begin with, and if it occurs, remove themselves. So upper lesser type B, particularly highly provocative narcissists. Lower lesser, also. Middle lesser, not so much, because they have a streak of the mid-range about them. Lower mid-range, they possibly will engage in this behaviour, although they are less likely to be a position of success, and therefore, where they do it, it is more likely done as part of a crowd themselves, goading another crowd. Middle mid-range B won't do it. Too passive-aggressive, cowards, they would slink away. Upper lesser, absolutely, all day long, love every moment of it. Lower greater, absolutely, more aggressive aspect of the greater narcissist, lower greater will do it. Middle greater, less likely to do so. Again, those who are middle greater tend to be pandering to popularity and positive fuel more than negative in a mass scenario. Upper greater, they would do it also. The ultra, indeed. Accordingly, of the groupings, lower lesser, yes. Upper lesser type B, yes. Lower mid-range, sometimes. Upper mid-range, yes. Lower greater, yes. Upper greater, yes. Ultra, yes. Those individuals will be highly provocative narcissists, but in different ways. Lower lesser, for instance, will charge in front of that crowd at a sporting event, stand there, shirt off, giving it the big un, giving it the come on then, shouting and jumping around, provoking in that way. An upper greater would stand in front of a hostile crowd and point out how they're wrong, using the boom of his voice through the microphone, utilising the charisma and the Machiavellian behaviours whilst thinking, they'll see, they'll soon be locked up, they'll soon be taken away and black-bagged. So there are differing ways that the highly provocative narcissist presents in terms of the level of calmness that they show whilst they drink up all of this negative fuel, or whether they're jumping around like a firecracker trying to incite further problems. This is the highly provocative narcissist. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.